It all started on a rainy London evening. The kind of evening where the streets glistened under lamplight, and the air was thick with whispers of scandal, secrets, and things nobody was supposed to know. In a private, dimly lit study in Westminster, Nicholas Soames, longtime confidant of King Charles, finally decided he could no longer keep a secret buried for decades. And what he revealed was the kind of revelation that would make headlines around the world. That King Charles, the very man now sitting on the throne, knew far more about Princess Diana's death than anyone could have imagined. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. You might be asking yourself, is this another royal conspiracy theory? A wild tabloid claim designed to shock and sell papers? Well, you're about to go on a ride that mixes palace intrigue, decades-old secrets, and a web of deception so tangled it makes the finest Netflix thrillers look tame. It all began during a private dinner, the kind the press would kill to hear about, but which the public would never normally glimpse. Nicholas Soames, an old friend of Charles, leaned forward over a mahogany table, glass of vintage red wine in hand, eyes narrowing. "I've kept this to myself for far too long," he said in a voice low enough that only a trusted confidant could hear. "Charles knows more about Diana's death than he's ever admitted. And it's not just the rumors you read in tabloids. It's something personal, something heavy. Imagine that for a second. A man who had been at the heart of the royal circle for decades, speaking words that could shake the monarchy. And the gravity wasn't in some vague accusation. It was in the suggestion that decades-old events, carefully packaged by officials and the media, might have hidden layers no one outside the palace walls could have guessed. Curiosity grips you instantly. What does Nicholas Soames know? How could he even know it? And what was Charles's role in all of this? A web of secrets and palace politics. To understand why this revelation was explosive, you have to step back and look at the world behind the gilded doors of Buckingham Palace. The royal family has always been a tightly controlled machine. Every appearance, every statement, every gesture is choreographed. The public sees elegance and stability, but behind the scenes, the monarchy is a pressure cooker of alliances, rivalries, and secrets. Princess Diana's death was, of course, a global tragedy. The official investigation concluded that it was a car accident, tragic but ultimately avoidable, compounded by reckless driving and paparazzi pursuit. But in this fictional twist, Nicholas Soames hints at something else. Whispers of palace knowledge, of events that Charles might have known about, not necessarily direct involvement, but awareness of hidden circumstances surrounding the fatal night. Imagine being in Soames' shoes. You've spent decades watching the inner workings of the family, attending private dinners, private discussions, and confidential meetings. And suddenly, a truth weighs on you. A truth that, if revealed, could shift public perception forever. That is the kind of tension that makes this story more than just speculation. It's a thriller disguised as a royal exposé. Now, let's pause and talk about Charles himself. By the 1990s, he was already a man in the public eye, torn between duty and desire, trapped by protocol, yet yearning for autonomy. To many, he was a figure of respect, a future king preparing for a heavy crown. But private accounts. And in our fictional scenario, Soames' bombshell suggests a man aware of more than the public could imagine. Think about it. If Charles had knowledge of circumstances surrounding Diana's tragic end, how would it have affected him? Sleepless nights? Quiet despair? Or strategic decision-making behind closed doors? Our fictional story explores the complexity of a man burdened by monarchy, secrecy, and loss. A man whose life is a balancing act between love, duty, and survival. According to Soames, it wasn't until a particularly stormy night in 2025 that he finally felt compelled to speak. "I can't watch the world continue to misunderstand this," he whispered. "People think they know Charles. They don't. He carries a weight, a burden that isn't just about the crown." In our fictional narrative, Soames reveals details that hint at confidential intelligence, private palace communications, and events that no media outlet had ever captured. Every anecdote he shares is laced with tension, fleeting glances exchanged during meetings, whispered warnings in hallways, and conversations meant to be forgotten but never quite erased from memory. And the kicker? Soames hints that Diana herself had suspicions. That night in Paris, the events that led to her death weren't merely accidents in isolation. There were elements, conversations, and choices that Charles was aware of long before the world ever found out. A palace in shadows. If you can picture it, this is the world. Grand halls, chandeliers casting soft glows on polished floors, whispers traveling down echoing corridors, and a family juggling tradition with secrecy. Every move, every smile, every carefully staged photograph carries weight far beyond its appearance. In this fictional retelling, Charles isn't just a distant figurehead. He is a man deeply entangled in palace affairs, burdened with knowledge that can't see the light of day. And the public? Completely unaware. They see charity events, gala dinners, and state visits. They see a man who is preparing to rule, a family coping with loss. But behind the scenes, decisions are being made, secrets preserved, and history quietly rewritten. What makes Soames' revelations so gripping is not simply the allegation itself. It's the moral complexity behind it. He doesn't claim Charles orchestrated tragedy. Instead, he presents a scenario of awareness, knowledge, and human limitation. The story asks a question every reader can relate to. If you knew something that could change lives, but revealing it could destroy everything, what would you do? That question resonates far beyond the palace. It touches on personal ethics, loyalty, and the cost of truth. Soames' fictional confession becomes more than a royal scandal. It's a mirror reflecting dilemmas every one of us faces, albeit on a far smaller scale. Even in this fictional universe, the public is oblivious until Soames' revelations leak. Imagine social media erupts, tabloids scramble, news anchors stammer through live broadcasts. Conspiracy theorists celebrate, skeptics doubt, and ordinary people are left wondering. Could this really be true? This section is critical in our story. It highlights the modern intersection between secrecy and instant information. News spreads in seconds, yet understanding lags behind. Soames' words spark debates, viral threads, and discussions that bridge history, ethics, and the very nature of monarchy. What can we take away from this imagined world of secrets and revelations? 3 things. Truth is never simple. Even within institutions built on tradition, there are layers of complexity. Ethics and loyalty can conflict. Every decision has consequences, and sometimes the right choice is the hardest one. History is written by those who endure it. The stories we hear are only fragments. The unseen moments often define the whole. As readers, we're drawn in by drama, curiosity, and the human element, the tension between public perception and private reality. So what do we do with revelations like these, even fictional ones? We reflect, we question, and we recognize that behind every headline, every royal smile, every public statement, there is a person, a story, and perhaps a burden too heavy to bear alone. Nicholas Soames' fictional confession reminds us that truth is often messy, layered, and emotionally charged. So what do you think? Could there really be hidden truths behind the royal facade? Or is this just another story, dramatized for intrigue and suspense? Share your thoughts, discuss with friends, and consider how history is shaped not just by events, but by what we choose to reveal and what we keep in shadows. The palace doors may be closed, but curiosity, wonder, and speculation will always slip